Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Big Bingy's Theory. Four movies this weekend. Yeah, that was my badass sign right there. That's my boss status right there. Today we're going to be talking about Turbo, R.I.P.D, Red 2, and The Conjuring. So let's start off with a movie that I wasn't necessarily looking forward to, but it just looked cute based on the trailers. Turbo. Well, what can I say about this movie other than the snail is fast? The snail is fast. The snail is fast. And that's really all you need to know. Because seriously, this movie was forgettable. Not in a bad way. Not that it's a bad movie. It's just there. If you know the plot, you've seen them. I'm sure you've seen the trailers by now. A snail wants to go fast, so he gets into a bit of an accident where he gets into a inside of a car, a high octane kind of car. It has nitrous oxide. He swallows it up a little bit, and then the nitrous oxide mixes in with his blood cells, making him go faster. And now he wants to be into the Indianapolis 500 to help out with some guy who wants to be a bigger brand of selling tacos out in the middle of gangsta-filled LA. Apparently, who knows? It's a very, very cheesy thing. It's a very cheesy story. I understand I'm not the target audience for this kind of movie. It's a kids movie, and it's mainly for kids. Otherwise, like for the adults, they'll just watch it and they'll just feel like it was alright. It just wasn't that memorable. It just completely comes out of it. Completely just goes out of your mind after about a few hours or so. The only thing that you'll remember throughout this entire movie is the snail is fast, because literally in the movie there actually is like a kid like recording the snail going fast in the track in the Indianapolis 500. He uploads it to YouTube, and about 10-15 seconds later there's already an auto-tune remix of his video, and it's such a huge hit that everybody starts dancing out in the middle of the streets or whatever because it's so freaking catchy. And the whole reason for that montage is so that way the president of the Indianapolis 500 can let the snail race in the Indy 500. That's it. That's really the whole choice. But once you're done with the movie, it'll play that song again near the end credits. So it's like it's gonna make your kids want to get that meme get that song in their cell phones or something. It's just really, that's the only thing you'll remember about this movie. Otherwise, it's completely forgettable. If you want to watch it, just wait till it comes out on DVD. And if you have like a 5-year-old or something like that, they'll probably enjoy it. It'll be something to shut the kid up for an hour and about 30 minutes or so. So that's about it. That's all I can say about Turbo. Now on to R.I.P.D. Again, another movie I was not really looking forward to. The only reason why I wanted to see it was because of Jeff Bridges. And it's funny because it also had Ryan Reynolds in it. Ryan Reynolds was Turbo in the Snail Turbo, and now he's in R.I.P.D. So I watched two movies that had Ryan Reynolds in it. And not only that, but I also had Jenna Louise Coleman, who is in R.I.P.D. but is also in Red 2. It's kind of like doing the whole 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of thing now. It's just, except it's with a somewhat good actor, which is Ryan Reynolds. When he plays a smartass, he does those roles very well. And Jenna Louise Coleman, who I've seen in not really a lot. I know she's huge in Weeds, but I never watched that show. I've heard it's good, but yeah, I found it kind of funny that those two were connected to those movies. I don't know. I just get a kick out of those kind of things. But anyway, R.I.P.D. again, Jeff Bridges was the only reason why I wanted to see this movie, because I'm a fan of his work, good and bad. Um, this was probably one of his weakest movies I've seen in a long time. Um, because literally, when I was watching it, I didn't really get into it. I didn't really care about any of the characters. I didn't really care about anybody in this entire movie. It's just a carbon copy of Men in Black. That's really all that it is. But the thing is that it's a bad copy of Men in Black. I'm sure you can make this story and to make it somehow work. But with R.I.P.D, it didn't work, because I just felt like they were just phoning it in. There was no charm to it. There was no fun in it. There was toilet humor kind of stuff. I don't really get into that kind of toilet humor. I like a little bit of toilet humor here and there, as long as it's meant for it, as long as it's got me invested into the film, then it could work. But other than that, with R.I.P.D, I did not get invested into it, nor did I give a shit about anything that was going on. Jeff Bridges, for all his awesomeness that is, like, his character in this movie was getting fucking annoying. Like, he's playing that old school kind of he's a cowboy back in the 1800s who died, and he's a hard ass. He's a guy that doesn't get along, and somehow has a fetish for ankles, because he lived during those times, and he didn't see much of the cleavage that women show off today, but he just looked at their ankles. But his character was getting so annoying that I really couldn't get behind this guy whatsoever. Even Ryan Reynolds, who at the beginning just shows that he's like a bad cop in a way, because he hides evidence, and that's the whole reason why he gets killed by his partner Kevin Bacon, who turns out to be one of the bad guys in this entire movie. What a twist! I've never seen this before. Ghost. But other than that, that's about it. There's really nothing else I can say about this, because it's again a forgettable movie. Whereas Turbo can be forgettable, but at least you might have a decent time with it, where it can make you kind of smirk a little bit, have a smile or a chuckle. This movie doesn't, and I can see why it's getting so many bad reviews. There was hardly any reviews for this movie, because, well, it's just a piece of shit, and it really upsets me that it had Jeff Bridges in it. And I'm sure it's probably going to be the same thing when The Seventh Son comes out. That, what Sam calls it, Game of Thrones meets Twilight. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. But again, Jeff Bridges in it. I'll check it out still. Hell, even if it didn't have Jeff Bridges, I would still see it. I torture myself with these kind of things for you people. This is what I do for you people. Anyway, now on to Red 2. Well, I might as well start off by saying that I did like the first movie. It had its cuteness. It had a decent story with it. It had very coherent characters. I could sympathize with them. I could feel for them. I thought John Malkovich was the best part throughout the entire movie. This one I was kind of looking forward to, because I thought it was going to have that same kind of charm as the first movie. And also the added characters of Anthony Hopkins. He's one of my favorite actors. And Catherine Zeta-Jones, beautiful woman, and I thought this was gonna work. Boy, was I wrong. This movie was a waste of time. It really amazes me that how much I just lost interest about 30 minutes into the movie, because this movie just felt rushed. It felt so rushed, to the point where I didn't know what the hell was going on. It was moving by so quick. Like there was like one plot line and then another plot line would come up, and then you had to follow very precisely what's going on in this movie. And I have no problem paying attention to a movie that I need to, that I need to see for myself, or be invested in. But it was going by so quick that half the time I had no idea like what was going on, and after a while I just did not care. And not only that, but some of the characters were starting to get really annoying, especially Jenna Louise Coleman's character in this movie. Whereas in the first movie I can understand because she was, thrust into this kind of world where she had no idea like what to do. She was scared for her life and everything. Whereas in this movie, she's just a girl that's like, ugh, it's so stale now. I'd much rather go through a dangerous mission where I could possibly die, other than being with a man who obviously cares for me and wants to look out for me and blah 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 blah. And to a point where like she kind of screws up half the things that's going on in this movie, that happens in this movie. It just that's not a good way. Even fucking John Malkovich couldn't save this movie. And even Anthony Hopkins. I mean, I thought Anthony Hopkins was decent in this movie, but then when you find out that, spoiler, he's the main bad guy in this movie, and he's tricked them into getting them out of the mental institution so he can release red mercury into the Soviet Union, so he could just. I didn't care. I didn't care. The twist was there. It's just I didn't care. I did not care. This movie was full of I don't care. That's it. So go check out the first movie. It's by far the best way you can see all these great guys, the great cast and everything. In this movie, and Red 2, you can see that maybe they were having some fun with it, but other than that, the audiences themselves are not going to have fun with it. Maybe some will. Excuse me. Maybe some will, but I didn't. And it's not. If I didn't, then you probably won't. So I would say just go watch the first movie and just pretend this one doesn't exist. This one's just going to go away after a while. It's going to fade into obscurity. Now on to The Conjuring. I have to say, this movie, it kind of came out of nowhere. The first time I saw the trailer for it, I was interested with the way that this movie, the way the trailer started it off with. It had a good kind of build up tension, and that part where near the end of the movie with near the end of the trailer with the clap that came out of nowhere right behind Lily Taylor's head. That kind of made me jump. I did not expect that. That was actually really, really good. And after seeing that trailer, I was really looking forward to it. Since then, I've tried to avoid any new trailers for it or anything, particularly commercials, except for the ones that show off the midnight screening scares that you see in the theater of people watching the movie in night vision, and then there's just a bunch of them jumping at the most scariest points in the trailer or in the movie itself. And I'm sorry, I don't buy into that. I really don't. You can call it real if you want, but for me, it's when I see something like that, it doesn't really get me prepared for something that's going to be scary. When you show that off for every Paranormal Activity commercial on TV, it loses its interest, and I don't care. So, but I was looking forward to this movie, and after seeing this makes me glad that a movie like this exists, because nowadays we have horror movies that deal with constant orchestra stingers and all that stuff, and it doesn't really get me enthralled with it, and it also makes me not care for some of the characters. I understand we have to have some unlikable characters in horror movies. We have to have the skeptical characters in these kind of movies. But if I don't feel invested into a movie, that I don't care about any of the any of the main characters to a point where I wish them death, then your horror movie has failed. Even if it has some good jump scare moments, it will still fail with me. What this movie proves is that there still exists those tension building, make you feel so scared to move and to kind of take your eyes out of the screen in order to see what's going to happen. This movie does it. It works so well because it shows that the old school scares of like back in the 70s of those kind of movies, they still exist. Because you can obviously tell that the director of this movie, James Wan, who's done the first Saw movie and Insidious, he knows this genre very well. He has grown up with these kind of movies for years, and you can tell by this movie because it feels so old school that it works. And I'm so glad that people are actually getting enthralled with this thing, because this kind of shows that that horror movies these days need to step up their A game for these kind of movies. Insidious did it very well, and I have to say that The Conjuring one-ups the Insidious by far. This is one of the most this was the most creepiest, scariest films I've seen in a long time, next like probably after Insidious. And not only that, but the characters are very, very likable. And not only that, but it invests much time into both families. Whereas like the Lily Taylor family with like the family of 7, like with 5 girls, I believe, and they're all likable. They you might have like the typical like older bitchy sister and everything, but she doesn't do that so much in this movie. And the little girls, you feel so attached to them, like you want nothing bad to happen to these girls at all. And Lily Taylor, you feel so bad for her, and the father and everything, because they are both working their asses off to get to to make things work. And when you see these things happen to these kids, you feel so invested into them that you don't want anything bad to happen to them. And then there's the demonologist characters of Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, and the life that they have to handle in order to, and so they can have so they can help out. They want to help out people, and not only that, but they have a daughter as well. And when things go bad, and then you see like that their daughter might also be in danger of this demon that's torturing the Lily Taylor family, you don't want that daughter to feel. And that's what works in horror movies. If you put as much time and effort into building up your characters and having them have motives, then it could work. And this movie does it so well. And not only, but and the tension it builds up for every little scare and everything, they work. It's not constant stingers of orchestras or anything like that. There's a couple of them in this movie, but when you get to a point where you're still feeling scared and still like wondering what's going to happen next in this movie, like 50 minutes into this movie, and when they do those jump scare moments, they can work. It can work if you do it right. And that's what this movie does. It does it right. This movie was meant for old school horror fans, and they will have a blast with it. And I'm so glad that it's actually getting the recognition that I think it so rightfully deserves. By far, the sleeper hit of one of the sleeper hits of 2013. I urge you guys to go watch The Conjuring. You will have a great time with it. Get some friends who are easily startled. If you want to make them shit their pants in any situation or anything like that, if you want to be a total fucking dick, go take them to go see The Conjuring, and I guarantee you they will have mud butt by the end. This movie worked. Go check out The Conjuring. It is by far, it is a great movie to watch. So that's about it. I've seen 3 mediocre films. Actually, one that's not that bad but easily forgettable. The other one may have Jeff Bridges in it, but it is by far one of his weakest films of all time. And the third one just feels like a waste of time. And I end it with a great movie. So it kind of makes me a little nervous that next week is The Wolverine. Yeah. I still have hope. I still have a little bit of hope. Please, Wolverine, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Don't give me another Origins. Please, don't do it to me. I can't. I can't go through with it again. I can't. The things that I do to myself. No wonder I'm so fucked up. Anyway, that's all I got for you today, people. So until next time, this is Bingy signing out.